Hey guys, welcome to Wandering into the Woods, a podcast brought to you by the creators of Adventures with BeeGee. I'm Linda.
And this is Jarrett.
And today we'll be talking to you about two adventures we've recently been on. I will be talking to you about our adventure into Spicewood Valley Trail here in Austin.
And I'm going to be talking about a hiking trip I went on to Lost Maples State Nature Area.
All right, let's dive in. So, about our little hike into Spicewood Valley Trail, it is a hike, at least the one we did, the route we took was about 2 miles. That includes both ways, back and forth.
It's a little bit more than that.
You think so?
It's about 1.5 to 2 miles one way.
Okay. And it's pretty neat because you, especially right after it rains, which we did right after it rained, we did this hike. And it's not one of those super well kept, well trimmed trails. And by that I mean I don't mean that it's like unsafe or totally unkept or totally crazy, but rather it's safe enough and level enough and just natural enough that you forget that you're just a minute away from the city. There's growth. There's a lot of little springs, a lot of little streams.
It's one.
Well, but it feels a little bit like, like you're walking through several. I don't know how to describe it. And it's just a really nice and pleasant trail to go through. I would recommend, because of how natural it is and because of all the growth that's in the area and it being around spring/summertime in Texas, that you take some long loose pants. I wouldn't recommend going in shorts.
I went in shorts and it was okay. It may be worse if there's insects out, but I don't know. The trail is pretty beat down, so it's not like there's a whole lot growing into it. So you'll probably be fine.
I mean, but there is tall grass there.
Yeah.
Tall grasses. And so, I mean, I would just say, especially during mosquito season, that you might want to take your longer loose fitting pants. I went in yoga pants and I kind of regretted that because it was so hot and humid, but I didn't regret it. It's when I felt the grasses scratching my legs. So, if you can find a nice comfortable pair of loose long pants, then I definitely recommend you wear those on this hike, which, like I said, offers a lot of glimpses into being in a lot of greenery, a nice body of water you can dive into and swim in. I bet you this place is just filled with people from the surrounding neighborhood during the summer, when people aren't in school or, when people aren't facing a COVID crisis. Honestly, I thought we were, despite this crisis, I thought we were going to see more people there than what we did, but we only saw like 3 or 4 other couples or groups of people while we were there. And the other thing about this trail is, the trail itself is so narrow in some spaces that you do have to watch out and make sure that you are vigilant of other people coming either towards you from one way or the other, because you want to maintain your social distance and you have to find a place for you to keep your distance. So we worked on that and we were able to maintain our distance and cover our faces and make sure that we all tried to stay as safe as possible. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't as much of a concern because there weren't that many people there, fortunately. But I can imagine it being a more difficult situation now that school is out and that they're, kids are looking for something to do and the restrictions in Texas are being lifted. So overall impressions, I loved it. It was a good way to get out of our house and out of our heads within, driving distance. It was like 8 minutes from our house. Jared, what were your impressions?
I mean, I like it. It's kind of a little hidden gem. It's kind of short. Be aware that if you do go, there's only 2 official parking spots, but it seems to be pretty cool to park along the road there.
We did manage to catch an official parking spot though, so we thought we were very lucky to get that.
I think it's the first time out of the handful of times I've been out there that I've had one. And at the end of the trail is kind of when it gets difficult, but that's also like where the cool thing is. Besides, there's the dam, and the very end is kind of a cool area.
Yeah, so it definitely felt good. Like you got to a secret treasure spot if you reached the end of the trail. And Jared and I, for those of you who are curious, we went on a Wednesday at around 4:30 in the afternoon.
I think it was a little bit later.
Okay, so maybe like 5-ish.
Yeah.
We're not saying that's the key time to go. This is the time we happened to go and happened to stumble upon this free, legitimate spot.
Yeah.
So I really recommend it for Austinites, for people that are particularly in the north and northwest area of Austin. It's not too far of a drive from you, and it's a great place for you to explore, in any weekday evening. So thanks to Jared for inviting me and the girls there last week.
So for my trip, I went out to Lost Maples State Nature Area. It's also known as just Lost Maples. That's what a lot of people call it. It's kind of famous for there being actual maple trees there. There aren't really any in Texas or the area, so a lot of people flock to it during fall when the leaves start changing. So that's kind of its claim to fame. But other than that, it's just pretty cool. Looks like most of the hill country, so it kind of has that stereotypical look. This one was kind of a big deal for me because it is the first time I've walked 12 miles in just flip-flops.
Whoa.
Mostly because I left my shoes.
Yeah,
I just couldn't find them.
Remind me how that happened again?
I had all my change of clothes downstairs, so I didn't disturb you or the girls when I went to leave. I thought I picked up a bundle of clothes, backpack, and shoes, and it turns out I just had clothes.
No, you
backpack.
did have shoes because I remember getting up to walk the girls and seeing a pair of shoes.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
so
oh.
I had the clothes that I was gonna wear, my backpack, and my shoes all laid there in a pile, and I got all of them except for the shoes. All of them made it into the car. I'm just glad that the shoes were still at the house, not like set on top of the roof, and I drove away and someone else owned them. But so I was supposed to originally go with my friend. He wasn't feeling good, so it ended up just being me. I got there. Didn't realize I didn't have shoes until I was already pulled in. So I was
You were committed, though.
I was committed. I drove like 3 hours. I didn't see a quick Google search. I didn't see any places that may sell shoes within like a handful of minutes away. So I was like, well, I'm here and I'm doing this because I committed. So I started out. There was quite a few people. It was still when the Texas state parks were requiring face coverings. It was a requirement. Most people were doing that half-heartedly. They either were just not wearing them at all, or they would just have them like with their faces out, like around their neck. Some people were doing, the good things and keeping their faces covered up completely, or at least when they got into eyesight of someone, they'd pull them up because, that makes a lot of sense, especially when you're hiking and it can be hard to breathe. But so I started out with my sandals. It was pretty busy. A lot of families out looking for something to do because, the parks just started opening day passes again. And I started out on the east to west trail. You end up crossing the creek there quite a few times. Not a big deal for me because I was in sandals and I could just go trotting across the water, not worried about my feet getting wet. And a lot of people had to like find rocks and hop across them, which can be pretty dangerous. But
you're like, well, I'm gonna get anyway.
Yep.
And at least I'll be able to dry off quickly.
Yeah, and so then I dried off pretty quick, as long as I didn't get any dirt or sand in them, which I had to be careful about to get hot spots. But
I was gonna ask, wouldn't that cause blistering though, or hot
so
spots?
I didn't. So if I just got like sand or stuff, I would feel it, and I'd just swipe it away real quick.
Okay.
So I went on east to west. That was the busy one. That's where all the families were. It's kind of it's a 4 or 5 mile loop. One of the other cool things that they have out on it is Monkey Rock. It's just it's like a cliff face where the creek is, and it has this kind of boulder built into the cliff face, and from the right angle, it looks like a monkey face.
That's surprising.
Yeah. And so, I did that. I took a couple of pictures, kept going. I think the big attraction is called the Grotto. It's kind of like another cliff face, but it drips water. It's like in the previous episode, or one of the previous episodes, we talked about Live Oak Falls at Colorado Bend.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that, a big cliff face, and it has water trickling down. It was unfortunately fairly dry when I was there. Like the creek had water and like the surface was kind of moist, but it wasn't like dripping, flowing water like a true waterfall like I was hoping. But so hopefully maybe if we hit a rainy season, I can go back out there, or if maybe more towards the end of summer. I don't know. I'm going to keep my eye on a big rainstorm and see about getting back out.
Sounds exciting. I think I would like to go with you.
Yeah, and that's not too far out. Then after that is the scenic overlook. So you got to go up quite a bit of steeper stuff for the area. Loose rocks, kind of hard to do in the sandals, but I managed. I got to the top, and that's where all the people were kind of like in this area. Not like a lot, but a handful of families.
Not maintaining social distance. By the way, guys, if you hear some snoring or sniffling or tingling some in the background, both Angela and BeeGee are here as well. They are our fellow co-hosts and like to be heard.
Yeah. So, out at the scenic overlook, this is where I saw most of the people just taking their mask off. I guess they decided they were in far enough and they were tired of it. But unfortunately, all the good scenic spots, people were either just sitting on.
People without masks were crowded in.
Yeah. Usually within like families, not like necessarily like crowding around each other.
Okay.
But so like my biggest complaint was one family decided that they were going to have, as they were calling it, snacks at one of the only overlook sections. So they just sat down, like family of 6, and started eating, which is cool and all. Like I'd love to eat in that spot too, but there was like a whole bunch of me and a whole bunch of other people.
Share the trail,
Yeah, they were trying to do it. So it would have been great if they would have had like a quick snack and moved and let everyone else look. But yeah, they were definitely like in the best spot.
Well, that sucks. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
But it's the hill country, so it's not like the views are insane. It's not like mountains. It's cool for here, but
it's still rude.
It is, definitely. So then, I kept going. And then it leads you down again, of course, because what goes up has to go down. So I had to survive the treacherous of going down steep in rocks.
In sandals. Yeah.
I met a lady there who had a quick conversation. She thought that I was just, really tough and hardcore. And I was like, well, yeah, but I also forgot them. I didn't do it on purpose. And she's like, well, that makes more sense.
Yes, I'm hardcore.
Yeah, because I was doing it.
My friend and I like to joke around that we're going to go hardcore, but we've never gone as hardcore as you.
Well, that's how you start. Just wear your flip-flops while you're hiking.
I'll let her know.
So right where that ended is like right next to a catch and release pond. So it's like a section of the creek that's pretty wide. It's pond size, slightly larger, but it's not a lake. So you can go fishing there. I saw a lot of people with rods and reels looking like they were going to do that. And that's where I headed out on the West Trail itself. It didn't have up and downs, but it was a harder trail than the East Trail. It wasn't too bad.
Why was it harder if there were no ups and downs?
It was just less maintained, and it was more narrow.
So more little rocky surfaces, rough.
It wasn't more, but it was like kind of like boulders, like walking up like boulder chunks and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Like large
flip
stuff.
Flip-flops? Yeah.
No, but like large boulders. So like think of more like stone stairs and kind of stuff. And on one narrow section, I moved as close to the creek as I could. And I was still, not very far, but a mother and her child came through, and her plan was just kind of pull her kid through, and it looked like she dragged the kid through some poison ivy or poison oak.
Oh, God.
And I had my mask on, and I was kind of giggling behind it, like, poor kid.
Oh, was the kid crying or something?
No, you don't notice it right away. Oh. You just get your legs dragged through it, and then you have issues later.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and then I did at the very end of the West Trail, there's a loop. I don't remember the name of it. It's pretty cool, too. It's overgrown. It's one of the coolest trails out there, like just the trails, not like the views or anything, but like to get the primitive sense. And I didn't see too many people out there. And then that takes you back to the West Trail, which was the one where I finished up. Towards the very end, I ran into another girl who was interested in me wearing flip-flops and about my GoPro because I was wearing it on my shoulder strap of my
Was
day
she
pack.
interested? Was she in good curious, or was she interested in, oh my god, am I about to get killed curious?
No, it was like a little girl with a family, like
Okay.
8 or 9. So she's like, "Oh, are you filming all the time? And wear your sandals?" And I'm like, "No, I'm only filming like terrain features. And I'm not trying to get any people because that's not what I came out for.
Mm-hmm.
And I only wear my shoe like these out here because I forgot my shoes." And like the entire time, I assume as her mom was like condescendingly saying, "Well, he didn't walk the steep section in those flip-flops."
Oh my god.
And so she just like repeated it over and over. And I just smiled at her and said, "Uh-huh." But last she could see me smiling because I had my face mask up.
Yeah.
But I was just like, "Yep, I just walked like 10 to 11 miles right now where we're at." And that's all I had was my flip-flops. But, you know,
Why does she feel the need to say that over and over?
I don't know.
I guess she must be so intimidated that she felt the need to attack you.
Yeah, so I don't know what her deal was. I was just kind of weird, and I'm like, I don't know why you're trying to put me down. But yeah, I totally did it.
Total stranger, by the way.
Yeah. And then on the way out, you cross the creek a few more times, and that's kind of it. It's a really pretty area. I'd love to go back. The last time I was there was when I was a child for the changing of the leaves, and that was also beautiful. But yeah, I'd definitely love to spend more time there.
Around what time of the year did the leaves change color?
Somewhere between September and November in Texas.
So maybe we'll get the chance to go, but probably not this year. Well, guys, I hope you've enjoyed listening to Jarrett and I talk about our adventures at Spicewood Valley Trail and Lost Maple State Park. We hope that you will come back and visit us again to listen to us about our other adventures exploring Texas.
Make sure you subscribe to Wandering in the Woods, and you can follow us on Instagram at Adventures with BeeGee, or you can check out our webpage at adventureswithbg.com. Thanks. Bye.